Okay, so once you have your clay, you're gonna grab a rolling pin. Don't grab one now because you don't have your clay yet. So hold on that. If you don't have one, if you don't have enough for everybody nearby, we'll get you one from a different table. And when you're doing this, when you're rolling out on your clay, you're gonna wanna stand up. Because if you are rolling with your arms stretched out like this, and you're rolling, it's gonna make your shoulders really hurt because your muscles are gonna be working so hard to push down on the clay. But if you stand up over your clay and put your fingers out straight like this, you'll be able to roll gently back and forth by pressing down on the clay. See it moving? You see it moving already? Now this side is already getting thinner than this side, so I have to be careful not to press down too much in one spot. Can you tell that this end over here is a little bit thinner than this end? Yeah, so I want to roll more on this side to get it to roll out. So I'm gonna, every once in a while, pick this up and then keep rolling. And be careful when you get to the edge because you don't want to do this. Oh man, I got a squished piece on my clay. Look at how thin that is. That wouldn't make a very strong castle, would it? No, that's okay. I'm just gonna leave that there. I don't want to tuck it over like this because that would trap air bubbles inside of the clay. We don't want any air bubbles, so just leave that alone. We're not gonna use that part for our castle. And I need to get this off of my rolling pin. There are some tools by you that you can use to scrape these pieces off. And we can just kind of stick them to our clay there so that they're not in the way and they're not getting turned into dried little crumbs. Okay, now I'm gonna try again. I'm just gonna keep working, keep flipping my slab over, and my goal is to get this large enough so that I can fit this piece on to my slab. I want the whole piece to fit on there. Is it fitting yet?
No.
So what do I need to do?
Roll more.
I'm gonna have to keep rolling more. Now we can help you a little bit. We have some wonderful helpers here in the room today, and we can help you a little bit, but you're gonna be doing some of the work today. Okay, thank you so much for getting hands together and being ready to listen. We have, a lot of us are ready to move on to cutting out our castle. And this part can be kind of tricky, but this is something that you can do on your own. I think this will be easier for you to do on your own. The rolling was pretty hard, wasn't it? And some of us are still working on it, and that's okay. But when you're ready, you will start cutting out. There are a couple of different cutting tools nearby. This one is a really nice cutting tool because it has a nice thin edge right here. This is also a really great cutting tool. Is this a good time to look for the cutting tools?
No.
Nope, because right now you're having a listening time. So you can look for them in just a minute, but here are the two really great cutting tools. There are some other ones too that just have a really thin edge. You're looking for a tool with a really thin edge that can slice through the clay. Now this one, what does this look like? A knife, it does. But you know what? It's actually not that sharp. I can touch it right there and it's not gonna cut me. It's called a fettling knife. And it's a clay tool that clay artists use to slice through the clay and make a nice clean cut. This tool is not good for cutting with clay. It's too thick. Anything that's thicker like this, this is great for drawing in the clay, but it's not good for cutting out. So we're not gonna use that. There are some other tools too that we are not using right now, like these toothbrushes. Those are for later. We're not using them right now. You do not need them for cutting out. So please leave them alone. You'll be able to use them later on your clay, but not right now. So when you are ready, you will place your clay onto, you'll place your template, this shape, onto your clay. Make sure you have your hands together still. Watching the screen. We're still listening. When you're ready, you'll place this onto your clay and you're gonna check all the corners. Are they all on the clay? Are mine all on there? Nothing's hanging off. We don't want anything hanging off the edge like this with no clay under it. We want to have it all on the clay. If it doesn't all fit, we got to keep rolling. And then once it is ready, we're going to use the clay tool, and we want the clay tool cutting where it sticks straight up from the clay. If my hand is the clay, it needs to slice through straight. I don't want to have it angled like this or tilted to the side at all. So I'm going to show you what that will look like when you're cutting. You're going to put the clay tool down in through the clay, and you're going to pull. Notice how I'm pulling. Am I pushing or pulling? Pulling. So we don't want to be going this way. We want to be pulling down through the clay like this. I'm making sure to stay right next to the template, and I'm holding this in place because I don't want my template to move. Make sure to get that little corner in there. And then there's one little edge I need to cut out there. And now I'm gonna turn my body so I can easily cut this way. If I'm standing like this, it's just kind of awkward for me to see how hard it is for me to, I can't get my hand over there. Just turn your body. Sure to turn your body or turn your clay mat. You might just have to take your whole clay mat and just turn it so that you can cut easily. Now I'm gonna do this side. Now this is tricky because I have to hold this and get this piece cut out. So I'm just gonna put my hand over here and keep holding it, moving my hand down as I go to make sure that this is cut out. Go nice and slow. And one more spot. Now I can remove this. I don't need this anymore. And then I can take these pieces. They should peel off really easily. Ta-da! And they should be able to be set aside. We're actually going to use these pieces to make something else later. So don't ball them up, don't wad them up, just set them aside. And you can rub a little bit of water on them so they don't dry out. When the clay is sitting out in the air, water is evaporating out of the clay, meaning that the water is coming out of the clay is starting to dry out, and we don't want that to happen to our clay because we're going to use it for something else. So just put some water on it, set it aside, and then you can smooth out your castle. You can kind of just smooth it out, but make sure you don't change the shape of the castle. Don't press so hard that you're like smushing it into a smushed castle. We don't want a smushed castle. Oh my goodness. Just carefully smooth it. You might even need to pick it up carefully, turn it over, and smooth the other side. Mine looks pretty smooth, but I could just smooth those edges. Okay, let's review. What did I do? I had to roll up my clay. I had to measure it. Then I put this on there, and what did I do? I cut out with the cutting tools, and then I removed my clay. What did I put on this clay?
Water.
Water. And then what am I doing to this? Smoothing my castle. When you're ready for this part, you will move your clay scraps up out of the way, and if you are done cutting out, you could do that right now. So go ahead and move it out of the way right now if you already have your clay scraps cut out. And we're gonna turn our castle gently. We're gonna use both hands to support the castle. We're gonna turn it. If you're still cutting, don't worry about it. Just wait on that. We're gonna turn our castle. Notice how I turned it so that it looks like a shoe now. The ankle would be maybe right here, if you could imagine this being a shoe, and maybe the shoelaces would go right here. and this is the heel of the shoe. So now I'm looking at the bottom of my castle right here. This is the bottom, and this is the top. This is where those battlements, those little openings are gonna go right here. And I'm gonna decorate my castle before I cut anything out, because we have some really fun stamps that we can use. This doesn't look very fun, does it? Looks boring. But it's not. It's very exciting, and I'll tell you about it in just a minute. And this is going to be something you could use to decorate your castle too. And this stamp is something that you could use to decorate your castle. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to use this piece that does not look exciting to make it exciting by pressing some bricks. Yep, you got it. I'm pressing some bricks into the side of my castle. And there we go. Okay, and I could keep coming over because this part is really going to be seen. This is the part on the steps. I want to make sure to see that I'm going to be able to see that part, so I want to decorate that too. And then I'm going to use this stamp to decorate at the top of my castle. Now I will be cutting some pieces out up here, but I'm just going to decorate the whole thing, even though I'm going to cut pieces out. Just press that on. I don't want to press so hard that I change the shape of my castle, but I have to press pretty hard and make sure I press over the whole thing. Otherwise, it's going to seem like this is not working. If I don't press hard enough, it's not going to show up. Let's see if it's showing up. It worked. There it is. Maybe this can be a Frozen themed castle because it's got some different things that look like snowflakes or something. And this is a seashell, but you can use it as a stamp too. I'm going to turn it over upside down, and I'm just going to stamp some grass into the bottom of my castle. Now I have to be careful because notice how the edge is getting this wavy line. It's going to make it not stand up very well. So I'm going to use, once I'm done, I'm just going to use this board and I'm going to push it back flat again so it has a straight edge there on the bottom. Okay, so the next step after you're done cutting is to decorate your castle. You cut out, then you use the little slip on your finger and smooth everything out. Then you can stamp on your castle. You can design some stamps. Okay, go ahead and go back to working.